Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be talking about a potential major blizzard that could be coming up for the Ohio Valley in the coming days. Now, before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather-related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. Now, I'd also highly recommend that you check out our very exciting store and our very exciting Patreon page. We're going to be making a Patreon post today about this potential major East Coast snowstorm that is coming up potentially. We're going to be making a post about that you can check out today by joining the Patreon in the description and the pinned comment down below. Anyway, for today's comment of the day, I want to know, how intense do you think this blizzard is going to be, and where do you think the bullseye is going to be if you have to pick a state? Who do you think is going to see the most snow from this snowstorm? Alright, now let's get right into it, and first things first, we're taking a look at this first frame. And anybody who knows anything about weather knows that this is a very, very intense look. We have a strong trough moving in, and we have a very strong low pressure center moving north towards the trough, possibly going to meet it, and that is the ingredients for a blizzard right there for sure. Now, as we move on, we can see that this is moving further north and it is becoming more intense as that trough actually is moving further south and also becoming more intense. This is just getting worse and worse and worse. The one thing I do want to mention is that the European model looks a lot worse than the GFS model does. The GFS model only has a major snowstorm, I guess I could say. I wouldn't really say it has a major blizzard. We're going to take a look at both models at some point during this video, rest assured. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on. And we're going to move on towards where we're going to start to see some very heavy snow develop with this storm for portions of Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, and Illinois in just a moment. Now, those previous frames were on Sunday evening through Sunday into Monday, by the way. Here we are about Monday at about 8 a.m. on November 30th. So we're only 5 days away from when this snow would be starting. There's a lot that can change within that time frame, though. We're going to be actively tracking this storm. I'm actually posting a 12Z thread on our Facebook group, Weather Freaks. You can check that out. I'm going to leave a comment down below where you can check out our very exciting Facebook group, where we're going to be actively tracking this storm. And we're going to be doing model run threads probably every single run, hopefully, so you can be a part of that, where we track the model runs as they come out together. It's very, very fun, and I would love to have you guys there. By about 2 p.m. on Monday, we see that this low pressure center is located right in between Tennessee and Kentucky, actually. And we're starting to see very heavy snow there for Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan there. You can tell where the heaviest of the snow is located. Northern Alabama as well getting in on some of this. Imagine if Northern Alabama saw accumulating snowfall in November. Very, very intense storm. And it has just a very cold look. Very unique setup we have here. Let's just take it to about 2 p.m. on Monday. And as you can see, still just seeing heavy snowfall in similar regions. Again, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio. Up even in through Michigan. Even seeing northern Georgia get in on this as well by this point. So a very, very intense storm, a 982 millibar low pressure center. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move on, and we're going to move on towards about 8 p.m. on Monday, where a lot of areas are actually going to switch over to snow since we're going to be seeing those low temperatures move in. We'll see that in just a moment. Alright, now another interesting thing I wanted to mention, I've noticed this with a lot of major blizzards that we've had, is one key component that really helps a lot of snow accumulate is when these storms do a little bit of like a wraparound. You see how it was heading straight north and now it's kind of wrapping and heading back west a little bit? That is going to extend the amount of time that snow is falling, since the low pressure center is going to be still in the area of Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee. If it just headed straight north and didn't do any curving, it would move out a lot faster. So we're going to get extra hours and hours of snowfall with this curvature in the track that this storm is taking. That is a lot of our historic blizzards have done things similar to that. So I just wanted to mention that really interesting fact there. We see that the mountainous regions in between Tennessee and North Carolina are now seeing snowfall as well. Moderate to heavy snowfall at that. We still see Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan seeing a lot of that heavy snowfall still. You might have noticed that Indiana and Ohio, as well as northern Kentucky, seem to be the bullseye for this storm, possibly even up in through Michigan. We'll take a look at the total snowfall map, obviously, for this model at the end of the video. We're going to be taking a look at some other models as well, like the GFS, the Canadian, We're even going to give a sneak peek into that potential East Coast snowstorm. Again, we're going to have a Patreon post about that as well that you can check out. It's going to be very in-depth. I recommend you sign up for the Patreon and at least try it for 1 month. It's cheaper than a Starbucks coffee and you can cancel at any time. So I recommend you check that out and you can get access to that very in-depth video about that storm. What we're going to do is we're actually going to move on. And we're going to move on towards about 2 a.m. on December 1st, where we're going to start to see that very heavy snowfall still around for Ohio, Indiana, and now moving more into Michigan in just a moment. All right, now as you can see, we're taking a look at about 2 a.m. on Tuesday, December 1st, like I said. As you can see, that low pressure center is still just in the northern regions there of Ohio. It's, I think, a 978 millibar low pressure center by this point. Very heavy snowfall there for northeastern Indiana and northwestern Ohio, and through most of the western half of Michigan as well. That is very heavy snowfall that is coming down by this point. And you might be wondering, how are you calling this a potential blizzard? I mean, it's heavy snowfall, but you need wind for a blizzard. Let's take a look at those wind gusts real quick. Take a look at that. Widespread 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts throughout Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, even some 50 mile per hour plus winds closer to the lakes. So very, very intense there. Let's just take it to about 2 p.m. on Tuesday, December 1st. And as you can see, snow is still falling for Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana. Lots and lots of regions still seeing snowfall. And by the time we reach about 8 a.m. on Wednesday, December 2nd, it is starting to finally move north out of the area. We still have snow showers all around for the Great Lakes, but it is relatively coming to an end, I guess you could say, by that point. Now, what we're going to do is we're actually going to move on, and we're going to move on towards those total snowfall maps according to our 3 major models. And then we're going to start briefly talking about that potential East Coast snowstorm. All right, now first things first, here is our European models projection for the total snowfall. Keep in mind, this isn't the snowfall that would accumulate. This is the snow that would fall out of the air. But really, it would only take an inch or two falling for it to start accumulating. So if you're in like the 22-inch area here, you can expect to probably see 18 to 20 inches of snow. According to this model, that does not mean that is going to happen for sure. We're still relatively far out from this storm happening. I anticipate with how major this is, I am going to make multiple videos about this storm and also the East Coast one as well. So rest assured, there is lots of content coming up. This is kind of just my first video kind of overviewing what the models think. And moving forward, we're going to get more in depth and just keep you guys updated with what's happening. Again, in the Facebook group, we're going to be doing model threads, so you can check that out down below. We're going to be doing 6Z, 6Z, 12Z, 18Z, and 0Z model run threads, probably for the next couple of weeks with the multiple snowstorms we have coming up. So I would love for you to be a part of that. As you can see, anywhere in the blues, you're under 6 inches of snow, so a general 2 to 6 inches of snow. If you're in the gray, you're probably a dusting, if anything. In the purples, which is pretty thin, you have 6 to 9 inches, potentially. So a lot of areas in West Virginia, Western Virginia, portions of Ohio there are all in those purples. And then as we get into the pinks, that's where we're at a general 9 to maybe 18 inches of snow. So that is pretty widespread for Kentucky, where you can see a few 17 inches. We see a lot of western 2/3 of Ohio are in that. Most of Indiana, the east, northeast regions of Illinois, including Chicago, the eastern regions in Wisconsin, all of the upper peninsula of Michigan there, and then western lower peninsula of Michigan as well, all in those regions. As we get kind of into those very bright pastel colors there, that's where we're at about 20 inches plus. So we see a lot of that going on for Indiana, Ohio, the upper peninsula of Michigan. That's where we're approaching 2 feet of snow potentially. So yes, this is going to bring very major snowfall if it is to occur that way. However, there is always the chance that it does not occur that way. So let's just go ahead and take a look at what the GFS has to say. And look at that. Again, I would call it a major snowstorm because we're approaching 10 inches, probably some areas over a foot, but very different than the European model. And even the GFS model here, this model is from the 6Z model run that just came out. But I will tell you that this model at the 0Z run did have a lot more snow than this. So we're seeing a lot less here this time around. West Virginia, Virginia, and Tennessee, North Carolina mountains do actually have a lot here though, a foot plus. And then as we take a look at the Canadian model, looks just like the European model, just a bit further east, but still has a ton of snowfall. So there's a lot to go over moving forward. Is it going to be the European and the Canadian model that are correct, or is the GFS model going to be correct? From my experience, I'm going to tell you there's a large likelihood that the European and the Canadian model are correct. Even if it's just the European model showing something and then the GFS and the Canadian model disagree, the European model is so good that you usually would side with probably the European model. But since the Canadian is on board too, I'm definitely siding with that option for now. But for now, it's a potential blizzard that is coming up, but at the very least, a pretty major snowstorm. We'll be tracking it moving forward. Again, the Facebook group is another place you can get awesome content. Let's briefly talk about that East Coast snowstorm that is potentially coming up here for the beginning portion of December. And I just wanted to mention in a previous video just a few days ago, we did talk about how a lot of snow opportunities are going to be coming up for this region to begin December. That forecast has panned out very, very well. I'm actually very proud of that call because now all the models and all the outlets are definitely hopping on board with that. The look was definitely always there, so the models did a great job. I don't want to take all the credit. The models did do a great job seeing that signal and that pattern coming up. So here we are talking about actually a very major signal for a potential East Coast snowstorm or blizzard. This does kind of give me some flashbacks to 2010, some of those Miller A nor'easters that were very, very potent. This one looks to be a little bit more inland. This is our European model. We can see some snowfall coming up for Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia. And then by the time we reach about 8 p.m. on, this would be Friday, December 4th. So we're very far out here. But I just wanted to show you that there is a signal for a potential East Coast snowstorm. You can see very heavy snowfall for a lot of the interior mid-Atlantic and Northeast. We'll be watching that closely. The Canadian model, however, very interesting here, keeps this storm coming in a little bit earlier. So maybe the morning hours of Friday, Thursday into Friday. And it has heavy snowfall from Virginia in through DC, Philadelphia, New York City, and in through Boston. That is kind of like the ultimate snowstorm on the East Coast. This is the one that people always look forward to and get hyped about. Again, we're going to be making a Patreon post in depth about this storm and what I personally think is going to be happening. So if you'd like to check out our Patreon page, you can do so by checking it out in the description and the pinned comment down below and get access to that very exciting post I'm going to be making. Anyway, for today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, with our kind of minor snowstorm that is ongoing as we speak right now, actually, how much snowfall do you think is the maximum anyone sees? And Red Pill said, I think 2 or 3 inches, and I really agree. It's generally been some areas getting a little bit over 3 inches of snow in the bullseye. I did call for a 3 to 6 inch areas to set up in certain regions, and they kind of did. They were just on the lower end of that. Anyway, for today's patron highlight of the day, I want to thank you all for supporting the channel, but especially our diamond patrons. Michael Codalessa, Madbirds, Alicia Davis, Catbite, Terry Curtis, It's Jay, Cindy Klein, Felix Wheatfield, Michael Buell, Mariah Vieira, Kellen Manhart, Noah Harley, and Mark J, alongside our platinum patrons, Adam S., Justin Quantrell, Donna Carnes, Alan Balemo, Larry LePan, Dovie Nagel, James Wade, and Cameron Marshall. If you would like to be on this Patreon end screen, you can do so by joining our Patreon page in the description and the pinned comment down below. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. I will see you guys in the next video.